question, question 21. What does question 21 say? With reference to the type of mountains, consider the following statements. Fault mountain involves both compression and tension of the Earth's crust, while fold mountain includes mainly compression. Now, this statement is talking about orogeny. This statement is talking about orogeny. That is nothing but mountain formation or mountain building. So how are these mountains formed? For example, your Himalayas. Himalayas were formed due to compression. That is when your Indo-Australian plate collided with your Eurasian plate. So you have fold mountains which mainly involves compression. But you also have something known as horst and graben. This is nothing but your block mountains. And this is nothing but your rift valleys. This is nothing but your rift valleys. These are formed as a result of compression as well as elongation. It results, so compression or elongation of crust which is brittle. Please remember this. Fold mountains involves compression, but fold mountains takes place in crust which is malleable. But crust which is brittle results in the formation of block mountains or rift valleys, also known as horst or grabens, due to compression or elongation, or that is tension. So fault mountain involves both compression and tension, correct, while fold mountains involves mainly compression, also correct. Option 1 is true. The Andes is an example of fault mountains. No. See, all of the tallest mountains on earth, be it Andes, be it Rockies, or be it the Alps or the Himalayas, they are all fold mountains. The tallest mountain ranges on earth are nothing but fold mountains. They are not fault mountains. Okay. Whereas Vosges is an example of fold mountains. No. This is a block mountain in Europe. Okay. Andes is in South America. So this is not correct, incorrect. So which of the statements above given is correct? Option 1. Option 1 is correct. Next question, question number 22. Now what does question 22 say? With reference to Earth's gravity, consider the following statements. First statement says, it is influenced by the distribution of mass of material within the Earth. Now, I've told you earlier, while discussing other answers, please remember, gravity is directly proportional to the mass of the body. More massive the body, more is the gravitational pull. Sun is more massive than the Earth. It is heavier than Earth. Obviously, gravitational pull of the Sun is more than that of the Earth. Okay. At the same time, gravitational pull is inversely proportional to distance. Okay. The Earth feels a greater gravitational pull of the Sun when compared to Pluto, because Pluto is very, very far away. So Earth's gravity is influenced by the distribution of mass material within the Earth. Yes, obviously, the distribution of material throughout the Earth is not the same. It is not the same. Therefore, the distribution of mass material does influence the gravity of Earth. Similarly, it is greater near the poles than the equator. Of course, it does. So second statement is also correct, because if you consider the Earth's shape, the Earth is not a perfect sphere. We call the shape of the Earth as geoid, because at the poles, North Pole and South Pole, it is slightly flat. Whereas along the equator, it is slightly bulged. Meaning what? The poles are closer to the center when compared to the equator along the surface. Along the surface, the pole is closer to the center rather than the equatorial bulge. Therefore, if you are at the pole, you will feel more gravitational pull. Therefore, it is greater near the poles than at the equator is also correct. So, which of the following statements above is or are correct? Both 1 and 2. Both 1 and 2. Question number 23 says, while a lunar eclipse can occur twice a year, a solar eclipse occurs only once a year. Not true. You would have never come across this particular statement. There is no such thing as lunar eclipse occurs only twice a year. It may be twice or thrice or even more. Not not more than 4 or 5, but at least 3 or 4 times it may occur. Whereas solar eclipse occurs more than that of lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse occurs more than that of lunar eclipse. Second statement says a solar eclipse always takes place on the summer solstice of the northern hemisphere. There's no such thing. What is summer solstice? Summer solstice is when the sun is directly overhead the Tropic of Cancer. When you have the longest day in the northern hemisphere and the longest night in the southern hemisphere. It has nothing to do with respect to eclipse. So both statements are incorrect. Both statements are incorrect. Which of the statements are true? Neither. Neither 1 or 2 are correct. Question number 24 says, La Nina is suspected to have caused recent floods in Australia. How is La Nina different from El Nino? Okay, very quickly, I'll just explain El Nino and La Nina. Okay, imagine this is equatorial. Okay, imagine this is equatorial Pacific Ocean. Okay, this is a Pacific Ocean. This is Australia and this is South America. Okay, what happens due to your trade winds? All the warm water along the equatorial region is pushed towards equator. Is pushed towards Australia. Therefore, you have warm water here. You have warm water along the eastern side of Australia or the western side of Pacific Ocean. At the same time, due to your trade winds pushing all the warm water towards Australia, you have upwelling of cold water from the bottoms along South America, and hence you have cold water here. You have cold water on the western side of South America or the eastern side of Pacific Ocean. Now, due to the presence of warm water over here, you have a low pressure region resulting in convection of air and cloud formation and heavy rainfall in Australia. This is your normal cycle. This diverges and settles down over here, forming a high pressure region on the eastern side of your Pacific Ocean. Now, what happens during El Nino is that we don't know why, but for some reason, the trade winds that you're able to see here, the trade winds become very, very weak. When the trade winds become very weak, there is nothing to push all the equatorial warm water towards Australia, because of which the warm water from Australia moves in the opposite direction, known as the equatorial counter current, and hence instead of Australia, next to Australia, you have warm water here. You have warm water here and close to South America, which reverses your normal cycle. Okay, this is your El Nino. El Nino also disrupts monsoon cycle, which results in drought in India. But if you consider La Nina, what is La Nina? La Nina is the exact opposite of El Nino. What happens? Instead of the trade winds becoming weaker, it becomes very, very strong. And when the trade winds become very strong, you have more warm water here. You have extra warm water here, which results in heavy rainfall along Australia and drought here in South America. And when you have La Nina, it also results in heavy rainfall, heavy monsoon in India. So both El Nino and La Nina have an indirect effect on the monsoon climate in India. So the first statement says La Nina is characterized by unusually cold ocean current, cold ocean temperature in equatorial Indian Ocean, whereas El Nino is characterized by unusually warm ocean temperature in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So I think by now you should be able to explain what is happening here. When you have La Nina, you don't have warm water here. You have cold water here. There is no warm water. But when you have El Nino, what happens? There is reversal of the equatorial counter current. There is reversal of the warm water, and hence you have more warm water along the Pacific Ocean. Whereas if you consider the second statement, El Nino has adverse effect on southwest monsoon of India, but La Nina has no effect. This is incorrect. Why? La Nina has an effect on monsoon climate. I've just explained to you. So La Nina does not have an effect is incorrect. La Nina does have an effect. So this statement is incorrect, whereas the first statement is correct, where it says La Nina is characterized by unusually cold ocean temperature in equatorial Indian Ocean, whereas El Nino is characterized by warm ocean water. Okay, so 2 is wrong, whereas 1 is correct. Which of the following rivers form a lobate delta? Now, here it is very easy to get confused. Okay, what is lobate delta? Lobate delta is nothing but your arcuate delta or your fan delta. Okay, meaning triangular form. When the delta is in a triangular form, hence the name delta. Please remember, River Nile is the first delta that they recognize the shape to be triangular, and hence they named it as delta. Okay, so delta is nothing but a depositional feature of rivers, and they saw that the Nile delta is actually triangular in shape, and hence the origin of the name delta. So Nile, Indus River, Ganga River, all delta shape. That is lobate, arcuate, or fan. So 1 is correct, 3 is correct, but Narmada, no. Narmada rather flows in the opposite direction into the Arabian Sea, has an estuary and not a delta. So 1 and 3 are correct. 26 says steep gradient between isotherms indicates gradual change in temperature of given latitude. So first you should know what are isotherms. What are isotherms? Isotherms are imaginary lines on the map which join regions having the same temperature. So if the isotherms are parallel or straight, it means gradual temperature change or no temperature change. If the isotherms change drastically like this, then it means a sudden increase in temperature. Therefore, steep gradient between isotherms indicates not gradual, but an increased change in temperature. So this is not true. Second statement, isotherms are near parallel to the latitudes in the southern hemisphere. This is true. The reason being that in the southern hemisphere, you have more water bodies than landmass. You hardly have any landmass in the southern hemisphere. Therefore, what happens is that water takes a lot more time to change in temperature. Why? Because we've already seen that the specific heat for water is much more than that of land. Therefore, the temperature of water remains uniform rather than a sudden change. When it comes to northern hemisphere, there is more landmass than water body. Therefore, isotherms may drastically change. But in southern hemispheres, they are mostly parallel due to large expanses of water bodies. Therefore, option 2 is correct. Which of the above statement is correct? It is option 2. It is option 2. Question 27. Now, question 27 says, consider the following statements regarding the polar vortex. Now, I already hope that everybody has some understanding of what is a polar vortex. A polar vortex is actually formed, as the name suggests, along the North Pole and the South Pole. Okay, so if you take the Earth's surface, if you consider the Earth, what happens along the northern pole? We have something known as the jet stream, which moves from west to east. Similarly, in the southern pole, you also have something known as a jet stream. Now, these jet streams actually restrict cold air moving from the poles towards the equator region. Okay, and this is restricted by the continuously moving jet stream, which results in the formation of a polar vortex, which plays a very important role in your ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer depletion. Please remember, polar vortex becomes very strong during winter time and extends downwards or equatorwards, whereas they become weak during summertime. Okay, so First statement, the polar vortex is a large area of low pressure and cold air surrounding the Earth's poles. This is true. The polar vortex is a low pressure region. Along the surface, it is high pressure because of the cold temperature, whereas at an altitude where you have the vortex, it is a low pressure region of cold air surrounding the Earth's poles. Second statement, this phenomena cannot be observed visibly like tropical and temperate cyclones. It cannot be seen. It is mostly along the stratosphere. It is mostly along the stratosphere, and hence we are not able to see it. Third statement, loss of sea ice in the Arctic regions due to rising temperatures with an increase in snow cover in Europe and Asia has caused polar vortex to weaken. I told you during winter time it is strong. Why is it strong? Because the region, it becomes very, very cold. But due to global warming, what is happening? All the ice is melting and the winter is weakening. If the winter weakens, the polar vortex will also weaken. So this is also correct. So option 1, 2, and 3, statement 1, 2, and 3, and hence option D is correct. Question 28. Consider the following statements. Temperate cyclones are more pronounced in the southern hemisphere. No, wrong. Temperate cyclones are more prone in the northern hemisphere. This is because of greater temperature difference between land and sea. Whereas in the southern hemisphere, you mostly have only water. Therefore, there is no contrast in temperature in the southern hemisphere. Therefore, we see more temperate cyclones in northern hemisphere, not southern hemisphere. Second statement, tropical cyclones are frontal in origin. No. Temperate cyclones are frontal in origin. Temperate cyclones are frontal in origin. Therefore, second statement is also incorrect. Third statement, temperate cyclones can form both on land as well as on seas. Yes. Tropical cyclones only on water body, whereas temperate cyclones on both land as well as seas. Okay, this is the fourth statement. In a temperate cyclone, rainfall is slow and continues for many days. Yes, this is true. Tropical cyclone, you have very heavy rainfall for a shorter duration, whereas in temperate cyclone, you have moderate rainfall but for a prolonged duration. Tropical cyclones are not welcome, whereas temperate cyclones are suitable and are welcome, which bring about a weather change. So it is 3 and 4, option C. 3 and 4, option C. Question number 29. What is the significance of the study of oceanic morphology? Oceanic morphology meaning what? The morphology of the ocean bottom. Okay. So first statement, ocean relief controls the nature, character, and motion of seawater. Obviously, if it is shallow water, it will control the movement of water. You'll have the intensity of wave changes when compared to open oceans or open seas where you have deeper water. So this is correct. Oceanic movements in the form of currents are responsible for variations in character of flora and fauna in the ocean. Obviously, correct. So you have oceans, you have different oceanic morphology or relief features. For example, along the continental shelf, it is very suitable for the formation of delta. It is very much suitable for supporting underwater vegetation, and hence you have more diverse marine ecosystem. So this is also correct. It contributes to the formation of flora and fauna. Third, bottom relief of ocean influences navigation and fishing. Correct. Obviously, if it is much more shallower, you're able to opt for bottom trawling, and hence you're able to catch more fishes. In deep water, it becomes difficult. You have more marine animals which are able to swim at a greater depth. So fishing, most of the fishing is along the continental shelf. So this is also true. 1, 2, and 3. Option D. I'm sorry. Question 30. This is not Pacific Ocean. Please make it Black Sea. Okay, a correction. It is a marginal sea of Black Sea. Okay, it is not Pacific Ocean. It is Black Sea. So first statement, it is connected to Sea of Azov and Sea of Marmara. Yes. Okay, so Black Sea is where? Black Sea is in Europe. If this is Black Sea, you have Ukraine, you have Russia, you have Turkey, you have Romania, you have Bulgaria. So Black Sea as of today has become a region of confrontation, geopolitical region due to Russia's army close to Ukraine. And this is important for Russia as it gives access to Mediterranean region. So you have Black Sea, you have the Bosphorus Strait connecting to the Sea of Marmara, and then the Dardanelles Strait connecting to the Aegean Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Whereas the small water body here, close to Crimea of Ukraine, it has Sea of Azov. It has Sea of Azov. So, of course, Black Sea has Sea of Azov and is connected to Sea of Marmara. It is the largest water body with a meromictic basin. This is correct. Meromictic basin means a water body with two different layers. So what happens in Black Sea is that from the Mediterranean seaside or the Aegean seaside, along the bottom, cold saline water. See, if this is Aegean Sea, this is Black Sea. Okay, along the bottom, cold saline water moves towards the Black Sea, whereas warm water, less saline water, moves from Black Sea to Aegean Sea. So this results in Black Sea having less saline water at the surface and more saline water which is more denser at the bottom, and hence it is a meromictic basin. Choose the correct answer. Both 1 and 2 are correct. So it is option A. Option A is true. Okay.